This is IBM Museum. In this video, I'm going to be touching upon the physical modifications to a retrofit. And in front of us, we have this very good example of that NetVista case and power supply that years ago I put an IBM Aptiva motherboard inside the unit. Now, one of the more heavy-duty aspects to this is I have to trim away a little bit of metal so I can get a third DIMM in that available socket in increasing the memory of the system. So I'm going to get turned around and go over the items one by one for my end goal of getting this system in a little bit better shape for that retrofit goal and get back in service, being more functional, everything in that nice, tidy, compact package. Now, for some of the later aspects, I'll go through and get the camera up a little bit higher, but I wanted to be focused in on this area of where I'm going to be cutting the metal. Now, this is not going to, I'm going to try and get rid of this wiring harness as my first modification, and I've already gone through and I've tucked some cables away, but I'll show those when I get the camera higher after we've done the main modification of cutting on that case. Now, I did have a pack of 2 of these come in. I put on order, and my focus here is to get rid of this mess, and I just want to go through. Let's go through and get the DIMM modules out of the way. And I have the new DIMMs here anyway that we're going to be putting in. So we're just getting those out of the way. And we've got access to the back now, but this drive cage assembly, the drive and what holds it, there's a latch that we lift here, and that drive can slide a little bit out of the way. It just goes back and catches against this end piece here. And I want to go through and pull that power lead and that power lead gently and then disconnect this at this point. So we have this big long mess of things that is going to be replaced with this little shorter piece. And I'll go through and I can connect it up just to make sure that we are keeping track of what we're doing at the time. And there might be a possibility of rerouting some of these cables later on. Boy. Okay. That's seated. Sometimes these connectors can just be a little bit tight or a little bit. And I think I'm seeing the right place. And as I've said before, sometimes going through and just taking pictures as you go through. Yeah, those connections are sure tight when they're brand new. And so that'll tuck down real nice once the case is closed. There's just not all that much wiring to work with. And I'll be touching on shortening these cables and getting them tucked away as well. Now, I thought of, on this metal piece, of having a Dremel and just getting some paper towels or some rags below the work area so I don't get metal filings everywhere. But I thought if I had snips, it might, oh yeah, it's going to twist a little bit. I have to see how this, and I even looked at the possibility of getting this piece out of there, and that is just not an easy thing. That's why I was thinking on working on the case with the motherboard and all the pieces in it, because it's just the work of getting, and that's that back catch for that assembly too, and not that it necessarily gets in the, I mean, it could be bent out of the way too. It's not a real, necessarily a load bearing worry or anything like that. I sure wish I could get at the underside of that though, to clip what we need away. I'm just kind of estimating the height. I'm not wanting to get rid of that clip on top, and it might just be where that's a casualty, unintended casualty of and of course this is ridged for better strength, so it doesn't bend as easily, bend out of position. And yeah, bump my camera here. But we'll be fine. As long as it goes through. In fact, I may be able to do something like a fold. Okay, and it's not the prettiest, but it is functional, and we'll have to see that that clears. That will go through and clear. Our DIMM. Make sure that we watch our fingers as we work around that if we still have some sharp edges. The same thing to a file. I mean, you would have metal filaments, and I have lots of files around too. But just looking at once that and there's the okay. And when that drive comes yeah, because that's not even coming all the way back. Oh, okay. So it is catching this piece down here. And if we can go through, get my glasses on here. And, you know, retrofitting, you have to do physical modifications like this sometimes. I don't want to get down there too far and tweak off that. Okay, got our piece there. So going through. Okay. We need to make sure. I didn't see that. Okay. No. I heard it. We don't want any metal. Okay, there I saw it fall. Didn't fall on the table. But I wanted to confirm that I got it out of there. Where did it even... Well, I'm pretty sure that it's not running free around there. Okay. And that's as far back as that drive assembly needs to go. Now, so the 256 megabyte, that's the maximum DIMM size you can have on the slot. And certainly I could have a 512 megabyte system without having a DIMM in the slot, but I'm thinking it's an easy enough of modification. And what that is, it's this floppy cable, the diskette drive cable, that when that drive comes back, it just... And we want to make sure that, you know, that we don't constrain any, we don't cause something to heat up by not allowing air in there and just having something that contacts that. But and I'll go through. And that has a chance of where I can modify that. I'll be coming up. I'm going to raise the camera here a little bit Why even pause the video, right? Let's just get a bigger view of things. How does that look? Okay, yeah, that's pretty good actually for the overview that I want. And I did start tucking some cables away. I probably need to get some, and I could have got out these wire cutters too, but clipping that metal probably wasn't going to be good with these. And go through like before this ATX lead, they're power leads, and since you know a different motherboard in a system means that all those connections and everything are all in different positions than what they were before with the correct motherboard or the earlier motherboard. So this is the diskette drive cable. And then this is the IDE cable for the CD-ROM that I have, this special drive that I have in there. It's like a laptop CD drive, and it's in assembly on top of the full-sized diskette drive. And so there's a good possibility of me going through and replacing this cable or getting this cable routed. Now, IDE cables and the diskette drive cables, there used to be an aspect of termination back in the old days that you made sure, and of course on the SCSI interface, termination is always a concern, and that goes over very long distances, so the signals are up higher. I'm not really sure. Normally you see diskette drive cables even as long as 18 inches or 2 foot, but they're strictly internal cables on these ribbon cables. IDE cables, I think by convention, are typically no longer than 18 inches, even though I've seen some that are probably a couple feet or a few feet maybe. But I don't know if a super short cable will really have as much of an effect that, you know, if I shorten down a cable, am I causing that signal to be up a little bit higher because I'm not attenuating it to the cable length as much? Now I have my audio lead for the CD drive, and I probably have shorter ones of these, but this is where I can, a longer cable, I can just kind of wire tie a little bit. To have it out of the way. And this ATX power connection here, you know, I don't want that tied on the back of this, of that ATI video adapter either. And the heatsink is just on the other side from where that junction is. See, and that'll tuck real nice in there. This will tuck down. I may have to come up with something eventually for this cable, just to strand it or some other way so it doesn't put as much side pressure is not in that tight with that DIMM module. And that may be just something I have to look at. I have to go through my cables. Now the hard drive cable on the other side, when you want to talk about short, it's actually folded down in here because the connection is real close in here to where it is for the CD cable, and the drive sits laterally here. This is the down in here is the actually what would be viewed as the front of the, you know, the opposite, the end that has all the connections of the IDE cable being connected here. So it sits across this bay underneath just to kind of get in a nice compact position there. And I've been seeing a lot more dust in here, and I think this is just because it's on the top side of the system that the dust settles into that upper edge. Not that the airflow goes in through here to go in, but I wanted to get this power lead out of the front of the Pentium 3 fan assembly, that it wasn't going through and causing any convoluted airflow. And let's go through, as I have this all opened up now, I'll go through and put all the DIMMs in place. There's not really, these two, it's not really as much of a problem with anything interfering with them. Okay, and the last one. And I'm not going to quite close up this case anyway. I don't expect to be done with all the modifications tonight. Okay, as long as I get a little bit further along and get that memory in there. Just looking at, man, yeah, I don't really, so I may not even put that, if I'm not closing the cover, I may keep that drive assembly out away from that now, and possibly I can go through and strand that stuff later on. Now, the other cabling, I mean, there is some, this is actually for the headers for powering the system on, and the fan power for the display adapter. And I've put some electrical tape on this. This is a harness that I originally wired up. And I mean, that can be folded up and made a little bit more compact to fit there. And there's a little bit of room over here in this front area, front of this power supply. Now, I talked about replacing, this is a 10/100 Ethernet adapter. It's called, IBM calls it the EtherJet. It's a low profile, nice little back to it, and it's not screws, it's actually a clip. And this is called the Wacom LAN cable. And so it's possible to send a signal over the network of, to have the system power up. And as long as you have it configured in the CMOS settings, it does pretty well. And I talked about the potential of I could put in a gigabit adapter, and this is low profile as well, but it doesn't have that wake on LAN connection. And I would, modifying the bracket is not a challenge to get it in there. I did that for the USB adapter that I'll pull out here in a moment. I could simply mark it and modify it, bend the middle just like I did up front here to fit that adapter in there. But, I'm also running a 600 megahertz Pentium 3, and I think the 100 megabit, per second is more than enough. I think a gigabit card wouldn't be utilized by this system as much. I mean, the CPU is just not capable of really having a gigabit of throughput through the adapter. Now, the USB adapter here, and this is the only one I've found, and I think that this is like even the second one I had on the system, because I think I had one that failed. And I noticed the other day that the USB connections, even for the back and these leads that go to the front of the case, it wasn't working. And so I pulled the adapter, I went through and reseated it, and now I'm actually getting a configuration error. And so I'm going to have to find another one of these, and it's been the only one. And I mean, I need it with the two headers. And I've looked around, and I've found out what it's called, but the places are out of stock of this. So this apparently is not sold anymore. It's just a standard USB 2, low profile, Ali chipset. And I don't know if going through and trying to reflow or something else to get this adapter to work again or be functional. I don't know if that's gonna work. I'm gonna have it plugged in just so I can see or show the error that comes up when the system powers on with it in place, and then can easily power down. And this is a adapter that I went through and modified the back bracket to make it low profile. And that's not hard at all. Just bent that upper section back, because it wasn't the way I bought it. It didn't include a low profile bracket that you could swap out for it. And these headers, I mean, more ideally they'd be an L shape and pointed up, but I'll have to see if I get a replacement, if I eventually able to find a replacement, then I can go through and I can, just for the sake of things, I can pop that screw back in there. I haven't been watching to see if the autofocus has been doing all right with me in the light. Okay. And I really don't want to necessarily pin that other USB adapter in there because I think I'm going to have to power down the system and to take that out if we get any error. And I'll probably pause the video. I mean, it'd be easy enough for me to connect up things, but I'm going to leave some of these cables up and where they're not reduced in size. I tucked this USB under that little clip, and that kind of holds it out of position. So a lot of that cabling I've done. I've got to work on that drive cabling at some point. But let's go through and get the system connected. I've got my input for the ATI. Just goes to that connector and connects up. This is for doing any video input into. And I have another all-in-one adapter that has the same style of connections, has this assembly as well. Just have it hanging off to the side. We'll connect up our way to get the VGA signal out. We've got our DIMMs and that wiring harness there. I don't necessarily have to tighten screws, but I am. And one of the leads I'll have to check out where I can put it is that front speaker. And this speaker looks like it's capable of quite a lot too. And I'll have to find out where the lead is to get that clipped in place too. And it's onboard audio. Okay. And make sure that we get the right, because I want to get it on the screen capture. Okay. Let me get that monitor out of the way. Let's get our network cable plugged in. And the other aspect to that, replacing the network adapter, I mean, if it's a Pentium 3 and I can't run a modern enough of browser in it, what's the use of having so much of a faster network adapter? That just is not going to and it's just mainly to see if I still get that error for the USB adapter, which I believe I will. And lastly, the power. And then making sure of what memory amount that this shows. The network adapter went live. I see that blinking. So let me get to and I've lubed up that tangled cords, rocking the camera a little bit. Okay. Now before with the post, I was seeing an error come up pretty quickly for that USB adapter. And we didn't see that this time. So I wonder if just reseeing and working with that USB adapter, I wonder if that brought it back. And I don't know if I replaced it before, or I don't know if it gave me an issue and I just plugged it back in. But we'll go through, and I have a thumb drive as well that we'll go through and test that to see. Two. Okay. Pay attention to what goes on the screen. And I think, yeah, I could even go up. Oh, and I'm sparking places. It's a little dry in here. And hanging up on cords. My goodness. Okay. My 1200. Oh gosh. I should have made all this adjustment prior. And prep enough for my video. Okay, and still looks like I have audio in. Haven't zapped my microphone out of existence. Okay. What I'll do here first. Okay. Look at all. It's a good resolution for that screen. Kind of hard to see. I need kind of like a magnifier utility on the system but there it looks like, and maybe I need to get this moved up on my big screen. Okay, then I can at least see that and read it pretty good. 598 megahertz, which it said before for the Pentium 3, 768 megabyte of RAM. So we are doing good with that. Okay. Now the other side. Okay. I don't necessarily need that up on the big screen. Set that aside. And when I did this before, I got strobing lights from the USB when I plugged it in. Now, I didn't see anything. I mean, I wasn't watching close enough to see if that came up before with. Yeah, that's the USB drive, but it's not showing. Nothing for that at all. Okay, we got an hourglass. Okay. But no contents. And I know that there's stuff on that drive. I wonder if that is it maybe that drive, and that's USB 3 most likely, or that's one of those ones that gives you the warning that it could be faster if it's in a maybe that's just the thumb drive that thing is. Do I have and see, that's even into the back port. Yeah, some of these are rather high capacity. USB, and the lights flash. I'm thinking that's more of a capacity thing than this is just like an old 32 megabyte. So we're going right at 44 minutes recording time. It was just my hope. Let me pause the video here. Okay, and I have a dock here. And this is just any attempt to see these ports. Anything from them. So I think even though that the error wasn't displayed when I booted this system up, I think that USB card is needing some work or needs to be replaced or something there. Because that should have been able to read something. At the very minimum, we got the icon displayed for the removable drive. Oh. So, and I don't know if that was sparks or what. And yeah, I'll bet you the system is locked up because I'm not having any mouse at all. Let's see if I can. No, it just doesn't. It's not responding. And we'll see if we get the error on boot up now. And I might just pull that adapter, that USB adapter out of there. And 47 minutes of recording time. I didn't necessarily want to go this long with what I was showing, but that's what this retrofitting is about, and physical modifications to the systems. So that was the error I was getting with that. And I could go through and I could even plug it into a different system even to see if it would and just that. Okay. Get that out of there. And I can get the network adapter pin down. I had to remove that screw again. Okay. But at least the system functions without the need for that USB. And I still do have these ports here. There's two USB 2 ports that I was using before to get into to connect up thumb drive and so, and it gives me the warning there that they're USB 2, not the USB 3. And in fact, that's a good test because I was thinking that I had this capacity of USB drive on there before. Okay, and I'm getting encoding overload, so I'll have to even check the video and make sure of the quality for that. But this system should be a lot more snappy even with, and I went through, and I think before with the minimal amount of memory, I had it locked down to on the virtual memory a little bit tighter. I was going through and specifying the setting, and now I've gone through and let the system run that virtual memory, and it seems to be running a lot better. Okay. Still about the same timing for all the loading personal settings and all that. And then it loads tries to load all the AVG and that wireless keyboard assembly. I found the picture of that online for the beige, and I have the black one around somewhere. And I don't know where the wireless keyboard and mouse for that is, though. And those are IBM branded. Okay. And not trying to make this video any longer than it needs to be. But we had it seemed like the programs on startup loaded quicker. And ideally, if I can find a USB 3 low profile adapter, I mean, that would be ideal, but I'm just looking for something that's going to fit in that slot and have those internal headers, and so I may not be able to be that picky. It's just a little bit of a challenge getting that seated. And see, there's the warning. It can be faster if I plug it into and I only have the two USB effectively for that. So that's the disk that it was doing, and I've got stuff in there. So that USB card is just it's just gone out to lunch. And did it how about the X? Why can't I? Oh, there we go. Just was thinking about it. Probably with that USB drive in there was making it difficult. Had to make things. So, but it's nice to have the more RAM memory. And I'll go through and clean up things a little bit more for that memory in the wiring. I need to clean a little bit of that up. But it's looking a lot better around that DIMM, the memory area, and I just have to make sure that when that drive assembly comes back, it doesn't just bump too much of the cable against that third DIMM slot. So it's a little bit of work in progress, and I'm going to need to replace a part, but we are doing really, really good here in that modification. It's nice having that system running again as it has. So if you like this content, long video for just a little bit of stuff, it seems, and the system checkout afterwards. You want to make sure that the stuff you put in there, the modification you do, make sure it works. I could go through with the power cabling. I could make sure that the diskette drive and the CD-ROM drive work, that they're getting power. Yeah, ejected the tray for that. So that looks like it's all working. So that's what we've done. If you like this video, go ahead and click on that like button. And there's going to be all this strange content like this, but it's good stuff. And you like all the content I've done so far and haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Get your friends that are like-minded to subscribe to the channel too. That's great having more people here. But that is all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.